Thank you. So that was a great fire start for us, and we will dive a bit in the health domain first. And that's important because health concerns all of us. Each of us is concerned by their health status, by their well-being, for yourself, for your loved ones. Health is a very impactful domain. Unfortunately, it's also a very complicated domain with a very fragmented landscape. So we will dive in this session a bit in the specificities of the health domain. First, about myself, Bert Verdonk. I've been working for Philips for a very long time, but recently switched my focus to Luxembourg. I currently work for the Luxembourg Institute of Health. But here I'm acting on behalf of the Gaia-X Health Working Group. And that is a group that has been active almost from the start of Gaia-X. We now have more than 300 interested people on our distribution list. And we organize a monthly community meeting with those people where we try to disseminate some of the Gaia-X thoughts. But also it is a forum where a lot of these participants share about their projects, their needs. And we're scouting for opportunities with that audience. So if there's interested people here or online that want to join our health community, please sign up and we can get you on board. That's roughly a monthly call. With a smaller coordination group, we orchestrate this community, and actually we try to do some additional things. You will notice that in this showroom here, there is not yet a health lighthouse project. And that's very difficult in that fragmented health domain. And from this group, we try to scout out there in this domain, in this market, for opportunities. Where can we seed a bit of the Gaia-X framework such that these existing initiatives or forthcoming initiatives adopt some of the principles and become interoperable amongst themselves? Because nobody believes there will ever be one single health data space. That is totally unrealistic. There will be many, and we want to ensure that they become federated across each other and reusable. And that's why in this panel we have invited 5 speakers that are working on some of these very promising projects that have a potential, if they adopt some of the Gaia-X principles, to become interoperable and make together an even more impactful impact into this health domain. And that's why we have invited the other guests here. One more note first about the European health data space is a forthcoming regulation that will also change this field, because we feel that there is insufficient legal basis, there is a lot of too much variability across the European member states on what is allowed, what is not allowed, how do you regulate that, how does the government keep control on what they need to control, but also enable sharing of data across borders where that is also desired. So the European health data space is the forthcoming legal framework that will enhance us on that. We are also engaging the TEDAS initiative, the joint action, which consults with the Commission on these topics. And they are also part, and we share very frequently the ideas and the thoughts with the TEDAS initiatives, such that we keep our work aligned. Okay, so far for the initial staging, and I would like to give it first to Jeroen, to give a bit your perspective of where you see us, we are with building health data spaces in the health domain, and why we should do that.
Yeah, I think we all know that healthcare systems are almost like climate. We see a train wreck ahead of us, yet we're slow to react. Healthcare costs keeps exceeding GDP growth. The system is highly fragmented. I think in many places there is enough capacity, it's just not properly accessible. And in the meantime, we see chronic disease, we see pandemics, societies are in lockdown because we cannot service the ICU beds that are required. So the system is creaking on all sides. And then if you think about it, what could really make the whole difference if we could orchestrate care, if we could bring people to the right place to get diagnosed or treated for disease, if we could support people at home with chronic disease, and we could base that on a longitudinal over time view of these people and link them back to the discovery we can do for new care pathways and for new treatments and even new forms of diagnosis. And it's all in the works. we already see that around 70–80% of all new innovation in healthcare, including vaccine development, is based on AI, is based on data, but this data is still highly fragmented. So if we could bring that together, I think we're not only opening up a completely new wave of insights in the human body and its health and disease, we could create new treatments, we could create new pathways, we could spread access to care in a different way and serve people way better. So the opportunity is huge. Like Francois said earlier, the ingredients are there. We have the data, we have the capabilities, so now it's a matter of bringing it together. And I genuinely hope that the team here, that Gaia-X will become the enabler to do that.
Thank you, Jeroen. And maybe we can take a look at the slide that I prepared here. The next slide shows a bit of how complicated that landscape is. And I want to refer back to a whole day event we held in April the 4th this year with the Gaia-X Health community. And we presented many initiatives, and also a lot of them demonstrated the complexity. You see all of the parties contributing. Like Jeroen said, we need to combine the information from these many parties. And today, unfortunately, we as citizens, we as patients, we are quite confused, and also it's not so easy to find your way. In the next slide, you see how we would want it to be. Much more orchestrated, fully protected, the citizen in control of what happens. If I wish my data to share with another doctor for a second opinion, just on a click of a button, allow me to do that. If I wish to participate in a clinical trial, make it very easy for me to do that wherever I am in Europe. So this is a bit of the desired state we try to achieve here. So with these illustrations, hopefully just to inspire you of where we want to go, I will start the sequence of 5 projects where we want you to take a look at. And I will start with Jasmin Schulz, who will talk about the Clinova project.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Bert, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jasmin Schulz, and I work at the Luxembourg Institute of Health. And I will give you a brief introduction into the Clinova project today. On the next slide, please. Yes, thank you very much. In Clinova, we aim to connect local health data spaces into a federated health data environment, meaning the data of patients will remain local at the site where a patient is seen, recruited at the hospital, and we will analyze this data remotely through federated analysis. We do not want to reinvent the wheel. We want to make use of ongoing initiatives and solutions that have already been implemented. In Germany, that's the German Medical Informatics Initiative. In Switzerland, the Swiss Personal Health Network. And in France, the PRISM Inesia Initiative. Why do we want to set this up? A data environment is very good, but we would like to have a purpose. And our goal is to improve patient care. We would like to support clinical treatment decisions to ensure that the patient is receiving the right treatment at the right time. Initially, we will focus on 3 medical use cases in complex chronic inflammatory diseases. That's inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid diseases, and multiple sclerosis. Our partners, if you go to the next slide, please, are what we call the extended greater region. That's Luxembourg, the Grand Est region in France, the region of Basel in Switzerland, Baden-Württemberg, and Saarland in Germany. We have not applied for a central umbrella call. Each region is contributing their own regional funding to this project. And in total, we have acquired about 15 million to get this initiative off the ground. And if you'd like to have more information about Clinova, feel free to contact me on the last slide. You will see my email address under which you can reach me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jasmin. And we specifically selected also this project because it's a very nice example with an ambition to go cross-border. You involve 4 countries, 5 regions, so that's really impressive that you dare to cross the border and handle all those complexities. So what are your current plans? Can you say a little bit more about that federated setup in Clinova, and maybe then also add your question to what you expect Gaia to do about that?
Thank you very much, Bert. As I mentioned, we have obtained our funding and we are now in the setup and implementation phase. So we are in the process of defining our framework to get this federated network ongoing. So we have to ensure that we define where the data are located. We need to have a neat data catalog, and we also need to define how data can be accessed, who can access, under which conditions, authentication, and of course also very importantly questions on governance. And here, as we are in the setup phase, from the beginning we would like to collaborate and align closely with Gaia-X to ensure that we are compatible from the beginning. And here, of course, it would be good to have further close exchange on these topics to ensure that we work closely together. And that would be my question: how can we collaborate better, and how far are these concepts already developed in Gaia-X?
Yeah, thank you. So that is great because you're at the start of the design phase of this infrastructure, and that is the place where you have the opportunity to apply some of the Gaia-X principles from the start. So that's really great to hear. And as your project extends across borders, it's also an interesting test case to make sure that we are able to deploy all of these components, just like the identity management, the trust framework, to make those functional in a multi-country setting. Okay, thank you very much. We will proceed now to actually a remote participant, the genome data infrastructure. If we have Juan Arenas online, he's actually not here because they have their kickoff project in Brussels at the same day, today and tomorrow, of a very exciting program which is subsidized by the Digital Europe program. Juan, to you.
Thank you, Bert. So yes, we are kicking off the project today. So in part after the meeting, we start with the kickoff. But let me just go into the slides. So the first thing I want to point out is that this project is supporting the 26 member states that have decided to work together to make facilitate access across borders to high quality genomic health data. And that's what we're trying to facilitate through the project. We're facilitating the data infrastructure for that. The way that the work has been organized until now is that we have in the top the member states where they bring the national experts to work in different thematic groups around different topics and also on diseases thematic groups. And then the B1NG project came along to provide this funding for this effort. And the main goal of this project that will end in August next year is to provide the trust framework that you can see there, where we have a guidance on data governance, standards, data quality, infrastructure and a maturity model on how to deploy genomic medicine in healthcare. One of the outcomes of this project is the 1+NG cancer use case that is going to be implemented in the European genomic data space, data infrastructure, sorry, but also in the European health data pilots that is starting to define the architecture for the European health data space. Going forward, so just a number for people to know the size of the project. We have 54 partners. The project is a 40 million project for 30 million euros project that will run for 4 years. 50% co-funded by member states, 50% by the Commission. We have 20 countries that are part of the project at the moment. We are going to expand that probably with another 4 countries in the coming months. And we are aiming to be technically operational in 2 years' time with 6 countries, and then by the end of the project with 15 countries. How are we going to do this? So basically, we're bringing together the 1+G trust framework that I showed before, coming out of the B1NG, where we have the recommendation and the agreement of the experts. Using that transfer, we already have developed 2 proof of concepts, one for rare diseases that you can click on the video and see how you can get access across borders to rare disease data. And we're doing the same for cancer, and we will do for Genome of Europe and infectious diseases during the project. And these proof of concepts are basically generating the started kits that we will facilitate to countries, so the countries can deploy that started kit and become part of the infrastructure. So the idea is that then bringing all these components and the effort from the countries that we could develop and cooperate these services, we will have these 6 countries coming together by 2024. Providing the services at the national level and also the European level services that will include data discovery, data catalog, user portal, all the things that you need to make the infrastructure useful for the users. So I'm going to finish just with the opportunities that we can see here. So there is a lot of opportunities on building capacity in different areas, but data stewardship for sure. We need high quality data, and that's required quite a lot of human effort still. There is also a possibility to support the rollout of the 1% transfer work, because that will have to happen at the national level, but also the institutional level. And with the European data space legislation that is coming, there will be requirement from the data holders, those institutions that are holding health data, either for research or clinical, either private or public institution will have to make the data discoverable, and they also will have to make the data accessible, and this will be a legal obligation. So there will be a lot of needs for them to be able to take this step in the coming years. And I think with that, I finished with the list of partners in the consortia, and we just on a slide to show how you can connect. So you can always reach out to us in the coordination email, or you can register as a stakeholder following that link, and you will be informed of all the steps that we are taking. I just have to apologize because I have to let quite a lot of the press out, but yeah, I need to stick with the time to give other people also the opportunity to speak. And that's it.
Thanks a lot, Juan. So this is a very impressive example, building on a lot of historical progress in this genomics domain. Is maybe one of the most advanced domains in the health sector in Europe, where collaboration across the member states has been there since long, and where it has also scaled to a much larger scale. You heard before there was a 1 million genome, a beyond 1 million genome, and now even the next phase it will be this genomic data infrastructure. So a lot about thinking in those teams about the sustainability of such infrastructure. Juan, maybe one more question still for you. How do you align, or you expect to align with European health data space, and how do you see that as an opportunity for you?
Yeah, that's. I think we have a crucial opportunity here. So the European data space is now still defining the architecture, and we are involved also in that project with the use case and working with the European data space data nodes to build to hopefully ensure that this both at least these two infrastructures are fully operational from the very beginning. And that is the work that is happening in the coming months. So they have 5 use cases for in addition to our use case that will be able to show how we can facilitate access to health data for secondary use, uses this infrastructure, and we are really looking forward to that cooperation, and I think it will have the potential to change healthcare in Europe, and hopefully that will happen in the coming years.
Okay, thank you. So your project will be an interesting place to test out some of the Gaia-X concepts as part of the technical architecture and governance, but also of the legal aspects in the interpretation of the EHDS. Your timeline allows that. So that's cool. Thank you, Juan, and success with your kickoff in Brussels.
Thank you.
And there's another interesting project in the Digital Europe program, and that is the cancer imaging infrastructure. So that's another health data domain, and Dr. Luis Martí Bonmatí will talk about the European cancer imaging infrastructure.
Well, thanks a lot. Happy to be with you, and sorry that I was not able to be physically there. I'm a radiologist, chairing the imaging department and the research group in Valencia, Spain. We have been working mainly on images, on the preparation of images, AI tools for segmentation and extraction of radiomic features, also on the integration of those features with clinical, genetic, and pathological data. And on the last years, working on prediction models and estimations on a clinical background, willing to either stratify patients before treatment, predict best treatment on these patients, mainly in cancer, and also on prognosis. And we were working heavily also on image safety and security issues with anonymization. And we did realize on the previous projects we were involved, this is one of them, Chimeleon, that image harmonization was a critical point, just to avoid the bias of the different vendors and protocols and releases when we were obtaining images from patients. Our studies are mainly based on observational studies from cohorts on different situations, like this one in chimelion with prostate cancer, willing to predict which will be the behavior of tumors in these patients by linking, again, clinical, molecular, genetic, and of course, radiomic data, just to obtain these predictive and prognostic clinical models. Then, because of that, we went deeply into the common data models and on the extensions, and because of that, with the European Commission, the different projects that were mainly funded under the Horizon 2020 call form the AI for Health imaging network. And we established different working groups defining situations like data harmonization, data preparation, radiomics extraction, also on the validation of the technical tools and on the clinical impact. And we succeed on the call on Digital Europe with the creation of an European cancer image infrastructure. And that infrastructure will link the so many different data warehouses at the different hospitals and institutions with the extract, transform, and load approaches when the different common data models are hyper ontologies to being able to perform observational studies that will provide also data on images. Then linking also the fragmented repositories on images that we do have based on the Horizon 2020 projects, linking also the knowledge and the repositories of some European research infrastructures like BBMRI or Aerobioimaging, EATRIS, also linking the different clinical trials with pharmaceutical companies on cancer patients, and also being able to develop donation of data through data altruism and having a central hub with the governance and access discussions and bodies. No? We understand that we might help the future of research on observational studies, taking imaging as one of the main pilots of these projects. So this is the complex infrastructure we will have to develop in the next 4 years. The project will start in January. We do have 79 partners plus stakeholders. We do have all the spectra from hospitals, academics, institutions, companies, pharmaceuticals, patients, professional societies, and also projects and ERICs. And we do understand that our main problem will be, for sure, the federated approach to the different data silos that we do have both on the clinical part and on the research part, and also the high-performance computing infrastructure that will be needed for this federated approach. This is my email, and I will be really happy to have as many stakeholders as feasible, and also happy to being able to use what Gaia-X that we do share so many thoughts will be willing to share with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Luis. Very impressive. So also this project, yes, big hand of applause. Also, this project, as you can see, is massive from its number of partners and the reach of combining all of these today still isolated repositories and bringing them all together is a very ambitious endeavor. Now we will move to Germany with two projects which have specific Gaia-X labeled funding in the health domain in Germany. We will first go to the Berlin area, and Tim is here with us. Please tell us about Health-X.
All right, so does this work? All right, perfectly. So before I start explaining what Health-X is, I want to tell you why we need Health-X, because I think like there are a lot of stakeholders in this room who are not like experts in health. So like in Germany, we have the primary health data. This is data which like is located in hospitals or is with your general practitioner, and like all of this is strongly regulated, and like often the data is collected, but afterwards it's never used again. And also like the people or the patients do not really have access over this data, and this data also doesn't flow across institutions. So if you are like at Dr. A and you get a diagnosis, but you're not sure about it, and you want to go to a second doctor for a second opinion, often you get like the data printed out or you get a hard disk, but like the processes are not how they could be. And then we have data from the secondary health market. This is like data like which is tracked with like smartwatches or fitness trackers, and this data is locked in like in silos with like the big companies who own these fitness trackers. So this data cannot be used within primary care, even though it provides huge potentials, and like it could like provide insights and enable preventive healthcare, which would save us all a lot of money. So I think it's pretty clear also to support the free movement of people that we need like a health data space across Europe. For example, when I moved to Denmark from Germany 3 years ago to obtain my master's, basically my digital health started from scratch. Luckily, like I'm young and I'm healthy, so for me it didn't matter much, but like for elderly people, this is actually like a big problem. So now I want to tell you what is Health-X. So Health-X is one of 11 Gaia-X projects which are funded by the German Federal Ministry of Economics and Climate Affairs, and we started about a year ago, and in our consortium like we have 14 partners, among others like the Charité, Siemens, Ionos, and like a lot of varieties of stakeholders. And the objective of our project is to build like a decentralized, federated and open health data space, which is in alignment with European values such as like citizen centricity and transparency. So our big goal is that we want to empower patients to have secure control over their data. So the people should decide whether they want to share their data with different stakeholders, or they should be in control of the data. So, and another objective of us is to be interoperable with existing standards. For example, as already mentioned, the German Medical Informatics Initiative, FIRE and SNOMED. There are a lot of existing standards in healthcare which are like already established, and we want to use them. And how do we want to achieve our goal? So like in the central part is like we are developing a health data wallet, and with this data wallet we are providing a central citizen-centric access point to health data. So in the wallet users can see who accessed when their health data for what purposes, and the citizens can basically request their data from the clinic. So our goal is that when you want to have access to the data, you can do so, and currently that's still a problem. And of course, we want to be like legally compliant, particularly as already said, the EHDS has a huge potential for us. Like we want to enable data exchange between participants, and the data should stay where it is. So we are building on a decentralized, federated approach. But we still want this data to be interlinked with each other. And in our project, on the next slide actually, like we have also a summary of our project. I don't know if anyone can like switch the slide. If not, no problem, we will share it afterwards. So yes, we have 4 use cases where we want to demonstrate the value of our project. So for example, we want the citizens to enable and to empower them to donate or share their data for secondary research purposes. And we are also working together with pharmacists who want to basically include genomics data and other data sources, and then we want to improve medication, because it's known that for some people some medicine doesn't work if you would look at the peer groups or the data, and this is one of the use cases where we want to demonstrate the value of our project.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Very briefly, how do you think about the sustainability of your project after the funding ends?
Yeah, I know that's always an issue with research projects. So I'm working in the working package 6 of our project, and we are already now taking care of the Health-X business model and the institutionalization of our project. So we think it's already important now to think what happens after the funding is over. So we want to build a participatory data space which offers platform-based services in an advising ecosystem. And for do so, it's important to get the governance right. And so we are learning from other projects. There are other Gaia-X projects which, for example, already decided on the legal forms. So we are in discussions with them, and we want to learn from them. And then something which is also special about our project is that we host Health-X innovation hubs. So every 6 months, we invite startups and incumbents to basically think their existing business models and products and services in a health data space way. And then for the best concepts, they get awarded with up to 75,000 euros, and then they can join our project for up to 1 year. And then basically we can generate network effects and basically get awareness. But on the other side, our tech stack also gets feedback and evaluation how we can further improve it, because at the beginning you always have to adapt.
That's cool. So that you even federate with the startup landscape. So that's also very interesting. Thank you very much, Tim. And then last but not least in this lineup, we go to Bruno Ristock. Bruno was supposed to be here, but there was an issue with his plane here. So Bruno, I hope you're online and you can talk us about the Team X project, which is the other Gaia-X funded project in the south of Germany.
Yes, hello, my name is Bruno Ristock from CNS. I'm CEO of a small medium company, and I would like to briefly present the second Gaia-X project in the domain of health, team-trusted ecosystem of applied medical data exchange. That's our project. And our initial question was, where is your health data today and how you can have access to this data? That's a question we want to solve. And the challenges are what we are currently lack of data for medicine and care are hardly used, and there's a lack of integration, usability, and trust. And this challenges with there's no integration of data, no access to the data, no self-determination of the citizens, and slow digital transformation in care medicine, and a lack of effectiveness and efficiency of medicine and care. And we want to solve these problems with 2 use cases based on Gaia-X. Both use cases are highly relevant. We are dealing with breast cancer treatment in the course of inpatient and outpatient treatment, considering the exchange of data and communication between patients, physicians, and healthcare providers. And with the digital care platform, we deal with the issue of care and support for clients in inpatient and outpatient care. The focus is on the health location household. And the consortium includes includes well-known research institutions, large industrials, SMEs, but also about startups. And we're doing this mostly in Bavaria. So that's a consortium very much based in Bavaria, and we also funded from the Ministry of Economics and Climate Affairs in Germany. So that's a short presentation.
Thank you, Bruno. And can you tell us a bit how your project is different, or how does it align with the HealthX project we saw from the Berlin region?
But let me answer with 4 aspects. First of all, we work wonderfully together, and together we want to make an important contribution to the further development of the healthcare system in Germany and in Europe. We do this with holding joint events and trying to synchronize our political activities. And the EHDS is particularly important to us. Second, there are also differences that complement each other very well from my point of view. Team X, we deal with comprehensively with ethical questions of digitalization. We do that by using the digital responsible goals. We use this principle for our project and are already sharing our experience with other projects funded by the Federal Ministry of Economy and Climate Affairs. Furthermore, we deal intensively with the aspect of common good and orientation. How can our project that combines care and medicine serve a common good? We are currently working in this special project group and want to share this with HealthX Data Loft and other Gaia-X projects in Germany as well in Europe. In addition, we are pursuing 2 differentiated approaches with Gaia-1 and Gaia Cloud, which we are integrate later in the project. Third, what is particularly close to my heart is the area of care. And this is where we are differentiate ourselves from partner project. We integrate medicine and care, thus have a much more comprehensive view on the patient. Specifically, this happens, for example, in the so-called health location household. There we integrate, among other things, telemedication care with outpatient care. And we strive the sustainability of our project. In this respect, we are working to implement a real laboratory in Bavaria that we want to test and further develop our solutions in a larger scale. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, clear. So very impressive to see that both German projects start very much from a patient-centric starting point and try to make the interaction of those patients with the health system much more enjoyable and effective. And the earlier projects have a more research-centric starting point, but both of them, of course, also interrelate. So I hope with these 5 projects you got a very comprehensive overview, and I've asked Jeroen to take notes and make sure that he flags out some synergies that you've seen between these projects.
Yeah, I see actually a whole lot of synergy, because if we look at the state of the art in cancer care, it's really getting a deep diagnosis that contains both imaging, and we heard quite a bit about how that is progressing, how disease can be detected and quantified, but even the course of the tumor can be predicted. So I think that's extremely promising. Now, genomics plays a big role in that. It's both, looking at the genetics of the cancer itself, but also the genome of the person. Are you liable to get cancer? Do you have a higher probability? Do you have potential complication? Breast cancer, it's known that if you have a certain gene, it can basically exacerbate quickly. And then this digital wallet that essentially brings the data together. And what we heard in the last one is, how can we bring this all together in an inpatient, outpatient setting? And and then of course we started with Luxembourg as looking also at things like MS and other use cases, but we're all solving the same kind of problems that seem to be very complementary. So I think the closer we work together here, the more we agree on a common infrastructure, trust framework, data exchange framework. We heard, the application of standards that we all agree on, like FHIR and SNOMED and what have you. I think you will see very clearly that each of these use cases or projects will deliver results, but you'll get exponential results if you combine them and expand them in a way that it can create way more innovation and better care. So I'm very I feel very positive about it, but I also believe we need to do the next step of collaboration here, and Gaia-X is definitely the way forward to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeroen, for those synergistic comments. And as you've seen, there is not one single lighthouse in health. There are multiple. And I think we are probably the first domain that is a federation of lighthouses. So that's how we will bring all these elements together. With that, I want to conclude this panel, and I thank you for your attention. And all the panelists. Thank you. Also online.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very
Bye.
much.